Welcome in, 304 Nation. Whew. Give everybody a minute to get in here. What a disappointing game. What a disappointing game. Guys, thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscription button. I don't even know what to say, guys. We just dropped to Kansas. There's an issue. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Guys, leave your comments. Let me know what you think. West Virginia, Kansas, overtime. You know, we were lucky to get it into overtime even. But to finish off with a loss and an interception in overtime, just, you know, it is what it is. Again, Neal Brown can't win a close game. The offense looked stagnant in the second half. The defense never looked good. As I said in my prediction video, this could be a trap game. And it indeed was a trap game. I don't think West Virginia was prepared. They were clearly outcoached. I think it's Coach Leopold. Did a hell of a job getting Kansas ready for this game. They ran a lot of different schemes that opened up the field. They attacked the weak spot on the defense, the D-backs, throwing some deep balls. They exploited mismatches. I mean, it wasn't so much that West Virginia lost as Kansas just won. Kansas played a hell of a game. They looked anything but like the Kansas Jayhawks of old. Pitiful performance. I don't know what they should work on first. It was pitiful. Here's my thing, guys, and I'm just going to kind of dump it out there. And I'm not crapping on Neal Brown. I'm not going to do that, but I'm just going to call it the way it is. Okay, he is not a offensive genius like we thought he was. He's not a defensive genius. He's not a time manager. He's not a very good game manager. What the hell is he? Like, that's my question. What is Neal Brown? He's a dude with a clipboard and a headset walking around with a head coaching title with a $20 million buyout who just dropped 2 games, you know, by a combined score like 6 points to rival Pitt and to Kansas. You know, the thing they need to work on first is coaching these kids up, because the only excuse for getting outcoached is getting outcoached, not being prepared, and that's it. And that was, I think, that was clearly what was going on. Started about towards the end of the first quarter, and started into the second quarter. You could really see that they were getting outcoached. Kansas changed their schemes up a lot and just, you know, give West Virginia's defense different looks every play. You know, their quarterback had a great game. You know, I don't know what the solution is. The offense, you know, at times looked better than any offense has under Neal Brown, and other times they looked like they couldn't take a dump. You know, like it was very Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And then the defense, you know, the back end with the D-backs, I don't know how we got by Pitt. I know we had one guy out for the first half, and one of our starters was hurt, but it shouldn't have made that huge of a difference. That's the thing about college football this year. It's been these 2 weeks of college football have been the worst 2 weeks that I've ever seen. Just completely odd games. Um, when you've got Marshall beating Notre Dame and Appalachian State beating Texas A&M and Texas almost beating Alabama, like it's just an odd season. There's been a lot of odd results, and this one kind of goes up there. But at the same time, when you just beat a team, you just beat them, and that's what Kansas did to West Virginia. They just came to Morgantown and they just beat them. Now, as if a lot of people wasn't hot and heavy after Neal Brown's butt after last week, they're really going to be after it this week. And we have to remember, he's got a $20 million buyout in his contract. It's not like, they can just fire him and be done with it. There's that $20 million to consider. So I don't think that's going to be anything in the immediate, but something's just not working. It's just not working. Dathan Merritt, no discipline, make boneheaded mistakes at very bad times. Yeah, I mean what West Virginia and Overtown, they had them 3rd and long, and just late roughing the passer penalty. Completely ruined it. There was no aspect of this game where I look at it and say, kind of like against Pitt, the refs, some of the calls were suspect. The coaching was suspect. The playing was suspect. The fans seemed like they were absolutely not in the game the whole time. It was just a very blah game. And I think what happened was, like I said in my prediction video, this was a trap game. The fans overlooked Kansas. I think the coaches, to a degree, overlooked Kansas. And, that's what happens. You can't overlook teams. And that's what we're starting to see is even, I'm sure Notre Dame went in to play Marshall not thinking for 1 second that Marshall was going to beat them. And that's what it's coming down to is just overlooking teams. And there's too much talent in college football to overlook teams nowadays. I think A&M didn't overlook Appalachian State, even though Appalachian State looked really good last week. I even slept on that a little bit. So I think that's something that we've all got to get used to. But, these coaches are paid millions of dollars to look forward, look ahead, and to prepare for those types of things. When they don't do it, we feel like we're getting ripped off. And we definitely I feel like that with Neal Brown. I feel like we've gotten ripped off 2 weeks in a row. We've lost games that we should have won. And when does the bleeding stop? When does he finally win a close game? If we don't beat Kansas, who are we going to beat? Greg Wills, weird 2 weeks for sure. Coaches will need to be on point and pass the eye test with the fans and ADs in this new NIL era. Can't get by on just team name recognition. You're right. And that's the thing is there's so much cronyism and nepotism going on at WVU with Coach Brown and the AD that there's a lot of things that just is overlooked. And there's a good old boys club going on up there, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. And I'm not calling for Neal Brown's job this week either. I'm not going to say that you need to fire him, but something has to give. There has to be some sort of a change in the way things are working for the Mountaineers. Whether it be different schemes or whatever, it's just so odd. It's the oddest thing I've ever seen to watch a team have moments of greatness and then moments of just sheer terribleness. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't watched me on YouTube, go to YouTube and type in 304 podcast and subscribe. We're about almost 1,100 subscribers, and you'll see all of our content there. But what are you guys' thoughts? specifically West Virginia, what can we do to change the trajectory of this season? Like, what's it really going to take? Does does Brown's buyout go down? It probably does, but it probably won't be much. I know it's like the 10th highest buyout in college football. I know it's like 20 million, something like that. Let me see if I can find that. Let's see. If he were let go before January 1st of 2022, the school would have to pay 23.35 million. That number decreases each season by 3 to 4 million. So after this year, it'll be 16 million, and then 12 million, and then 8 million. So I mean, they're going to have to pay. Uh, they're going to have to pay substantially over the next between now and 2026 to get him gone if that's what they choose to do. Who hired Brown? Shane Lyons, the director of athletics at WVU. For my opinion, they're big buddies, and there's been a lot of cronyism going on up there. And he gave Neal Brown an extension when he shouldn't have. That left everybody scratching their head. There's not a person that I've met yet that's like, "Oh, that was a good extension. It was bad. Should have never happened." Yeah, I mean, the muffed punt definitely did because any kind of momentum that West Virginia was building was gone. Um, but yeah, I mean that was kind of the moment. I I just can't I still can't believe how bad the defense looked. Dante Stills was a non-factor. I mean, it was just not a good showing at all, unless they can fire him for calls. I don't think so. I think those contracts, they are what they are. WVU really needs to put on the show against Townsend. Yeah, they do, and that's the thing. You watch that game tonight, and the West Virginia fans were somber. They were quiet. Like it was like it was defeated. And they were defeated. Like the crowd never got into the game. And then people that I know that were there were just talking about how pissed everybody was at Neal Brown. So head coach Neal Brown, aka Scott Frost Jr., is gone. You know, therein comes that $20 million question: is West Virginia gonna fork out that money to get rid of him? I don't think so. Is losing to Kansas cost? No, it's not. I wish it was. Um, that's the thing, though. I mean, really, guys, really, like you guys watch football. This Kansas team came to play. That they did. It wasn't just West Virginia stunk. Kansas really played well. They really did. They prepared extremely well. They knew going into Morgantown they could beat this team, and they did it. And you know, there's no excuse though for getting out coached. I mean, it is what it is. It's disgusting. Dustin Salts. I've been a big Neal Brown guy, but I sure ain't now. And I've defended him, and I've called for his job, and I've defended him, and I just don't know where I stand because he is a good dude. I feel like he's a good recruiter. He's a likable guy. The thing that pisses me off the most about Neal Brown is his press conferences. He talks around everything. He doesn't give a straight answer. And when a coach does that to me, it tells me that they're on the wormy side. That they just um, don't know how to ever speak the truth, so they just run in circles. Jordan Leslie defense have been pretty solid the past 2 years. Surprised me how bad. I mean, Nathan, that's the truth, man. They looked terrible tonight. They looked absolutely terrible. The defense, those D backs, again, had one out for the first half, had one out injured. Like, I get it. But man, like they looked so bad. The defensive line just was getting blown off the ball. Like Kansas came to play, and that's what you got to tell yourself. Like Kansas came to play. There's nothing that I can point my finger at. Like last week, I had things I could actually point my finger at. This week, I can. I mean, Kansas played very, very well. If Kansas could play that style of game against anybody else, they have a good shot at winning. I'll tell you what did piss me off tonight, guys, was the streaming commentators on ESPN Plus. I wanted to crawl through the freaking TV and punch them both. They were so terrible. T. Murph, Brown has got to go. Billy Tuesday, Kansas isn't Kansas anymore. They're not. And that's the thing, guys. Like, you got to remember that too. Like, Kansas isn't Kansas anymore. Marshall beat Notre Dame. Appalachian State beat Texas A&M. Western Kentucky beat Wisconsin. Is that who it was? Somebody like that? Like there's a lot of weird crap going on. Like a lot of weird teams winning, and it's just odd. Well, and that's the big thing there, Tony. You're right. Discipline and fundamentals. They do over pursue really bad. Their defensive ends were not very disciplined in this game, and they got sucked down too much when that quarterback wanted to run. Yeah, you do, and that's the thing, Nathan, is you do try to get pressure to alleviate that on the D-backs, but that's something I noticed against Pittsburgh, and it's something I noticed tonight. In second and long or third and long situations, West Virginia is going to drop 99% of the time. They're going to completely take the pressure off the ball, and that absolutely drives me nuts because that's why we get burned up on third downs is because we're not getting any pressure. The problem tonight, though, is you put that pressure on that quarterback and he just peels out. And I mean, he came to play. Kevin Vincent, thanks for tuning in, buddy. The defense as a whole looked terrible. John Belinovich, I heard on the radio that the can't. Okay. Old Dominion over Virginia Tech last week. I mean, perfect example. I mean, Virginia Tech looked like dog crap last week. Like their offense looked like the worst offense in the country. And I haven't checked on that game, but I guarantee you they're probably blowing Boston College out. Even though for them that's a trap game, they don't do what West Virginia tends to do in those situations. Let's see what the Virginia Tech score is. 17-3. So they're in charge. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Is it Leopold? He seemed so uber intense on the sidelines; it was almost hard to watch. But I mean, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, he certainly outcoached Neal Brown tonight on every facet of the game. No emphasis on defense anymore. Bring Tony Gibson in the 3-3-5 back. Oh, please, God, no. Some mistakes from day one, penalty kicks off and not finishing on defense. Neal Brown has been bringing in some of our best recruiting classes. And here's the thing. Like, Texas A&M had the best recruiting class ever last year, and they lost to Appalachian State. Notre Dame, severely overranked, and they lose to Marshall. Like that, the thing is with those recruiting classes, it doesn't really matter how high your class is because you're playing the lottery. You really don't know what you're getting with these guys. 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 3-star kids. You don't know what you're getting. 4-star kids are pretty good guesses. 5-star kids should be good to go. And that's just not what you're seeing anymore. And then take that and combine it with NIL and the portal, and these kids are finding their ways to the programs they actually want to play for, and the talent levels diversifying over college football. And I think that's why it's such an odd year, is because a lot of these guys that are making these, these big plays and these crazy wins and stuff, they're all from big portal teams that have benefited big in the portal. West Virginia is a really good example. JT Daniels, what would we have in the backfield if it wasn't for JT Daniels? We would have Daggy probably another year, truth be known. So we at least have to be thankful that we have a quarterback that we can stand to watch and that we realize has a pretty good arm and can make some good throws. Currently, the best football team in West Virginia is Marshall. I'll totally give you that. Totally. Is the climb officially done? I feel like after last year it was done. The climb. Referencing the climb at this point, I think for Neal Brown would be very bad for business. I think that's why he hasn't said it. He didn't say it in his was it September the 6th announcement that he released on Twitter about to the fans. He didn't talk about it then. I think we're tired of hearing trust the climb, and he knows it. And we're at a plateau that's going nowhere at the moment. And maybe there's still hope for him. I don't know. But this definitely, if his ass wasn't on fire before, it is now. I mean, there's going to be some very vocal people talking about wanting him gone. But again, $20 million buyout. I mean, the climb has turned into the slide. Yes, sir, it has. I just don't know what the solution is. You get rid of Neal Brown, you move Graham Harrell to interim head coach. I know who I would go after immediately. Like, I know exactly which coach I would say that's who I want to try to bring in, which is Manny Diaz, was a head coach at Miami, got thrown out for Mario Cristobal. He was 21-15 at Miami. Had good recruiting, good coach, good defensive guy. Now he's at Penn State. That's who I would like to see him bring in alongside Graham Harrell, to be honest with you. Because I feel like offensively, he's not too bad. He does seem to stall out, though. I'll give that to USC fans, because that's what they told me when we hired him, was he's synonymous for stalling out drives. Would you say that all the pieces are in place for WVU to be a lot better, and it just hasn't happened? That has to be. Yes. I mean, we have a equitable quarterback. We have 3 running backs that can move the ball. We've got Bryce, Prater, James, 3 to 4 receivers that can get down the field and catch the ball. A quarterback that can throw back shoulders and any kind of route you need. We have a great tight end that's sorely underutilized. Defensively, the only thing we're missing is the back end. The D-backs we knew that was going to be a weak spot. After Pittsburgh, I think we were all a little encouraged and didn't think it was going to be that bad. But after this week, it's as bad as it is. So then that brings you to the coaching staff. And when there's nothing else you can point your finger at and say that's a problem, it's the coaching staff. So to sum up your question, it absolutely is the coaching staff. It's the support staff, the coaching staff. Maybe they're starting to lose the locker room a little bit. Like I said in my halftime reaction, that 4th and 3 that Neal went for in the first quarter, that was just a shut up for the West Virginia fan, saying he should have went for it on 4th and 1 against Pitt. That's all that was. I wanted to at the beginning, I wanted to applaud him going for it on 4th and 3, and then I was like, well, he's only doing it out of spite, and I really do believe that. Yep. West Virginia doesn't have the money. 2 more years. Yep. 2 more years in the buyout will still be 10 to 12 million. Excuse me. Oh, I see a comment. Tyree Dillard. If we could just get some speed on defense, we look like we played defense with 10 men. Yeah, we did. Um, our defensive line did not perform like they did last week at all. Makes me wonder, is Pitt's offensive line soft, or did they just not go hard? And then you said the offensive line coach. For all of you guys that's been watching my content for the last couple of years, I don't like West Virginia's offensive line coach, Matt Moore. Don't like him. Haven't seen him do enough to keep his job, and I stand by that. But I will say this: out of all the years that he's been with West Virginia and Neal Brown, this is the best his offensive line has looked. Take that how you will. Mike King, it is as it is. West Virginia is known for inconsistency. That's just a staple of who they are. It gets very tiring. You'll have to pick up with it. Yeah, I mean, but at some point there's been some, even in the inconsistency, there's been consistency. Beating teams that you should beat, like Kansas, was the consistent part, and now we're losing that. We should have beat Pitt, and we lost that. What happens if we drop to Virginia Tech? The rest of the games we got left in the Big 12, who are we going to beat? We going to beat Baylor or Oklahoma State? Kansas State? We're not beating Kansas State. Texas Tech? Neal Brown's never beat Texas Tech. Texas? We're not beating Texas. I mean, we legitimately might win 2 games this year. That's a possibility. Like, and West Virginia fans, we need to start getting used to the idea that is a possibility. Pitt. Pitt is, I think Pitt's a little better than people think. If Keaton Slovis don't get hurt today and then they're back up straight in MCL, they probably beat Tennessee. So, I just think Pitt without Kenny Pickett is not nearly as good as they were. Their defense is what's going to keep them in every game they play. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, there is a certain amount of inconsistency that comes with West Virginia and other schools, Pitt, Virginia Tech. Really, you could say that for half the ACC and the Big Ten and that the SEC. I mean, there's inconsistency in all of them. West Virginia is just a middle tier team, and they're going to be a middle tier team in any conference that they go in. And at the moment, we're not even a middle tier team; we're a bottom tier team. And this is a new look for us West Virginia fans, honestly. Expect him to be something that he's not. Well, and I think there's, as much as we pay, as much as Neal Brown's getting paid, there's a certain amount of expectation that has to be put there. And, it's just not. It's obvious that it's not. And again, I'm not saying that the solution is to fire him, but, the uncertainty of college football, the Big 12, and all that, and all the the consolidations and stuff. West Virginia's got to be very careful because at some point they could be left on the outside looking in, and failing to act when they need to could be part of the problem there. No, I agree with you. West Virginia wasn't ready to play. That wasn't Neal Brown's fault. I mean, they got completely outcoached, completely. And that shouldn't happen. I felt like Pat Narduzzi outcoached Neal Brown last week. And Coach Leopold, I think's his name, outcoached Neal Brown this week. And does Neal get inside of his own head? Is he a control freak? What's the issue with the guy? Like, I don't know. It's just so hard to. It's so disappointing. Yeah, Mountain Beast. I mean, that's it. Marshall beat Notre Dame. West Virginia, I'd like to see Marshall and West Virginia play just to see what happens. I guarantee you West Virginia's coaches would get out coached, because if you watch that Marshall Notre Dame game, Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame, he got completely and utterly out coached by a more senior coach. That's what happened. That's totally what happened. That and Marshall's defense stood strong, and there's something. Let's go Herd. There's something to be said about that. Like, how many times can we say, our coach got out coached? How many times are we going to say that? Second best team in West Virginia is Martinburg. Yeah, at the moment. I don't know. Like, what is there to say about a team like, JT Daniels says and does all the right things. Neal Brown says all the right things. Like, Shane Lyon says all the right things. Like, it's like there's just a lot of talk going on, and it's not, it's all bullshit, it seems like. Greg Rose, it'll be interesting to see how Neal Brown handles the increased pressure from the fame. Well, I mean, I think he was already feeling it pretty heavy after the Pitt game, because he never releases that press release. I think it was the 6th. Telling fans to show up to the game and it's a gold rush and blah, blah, blah. Because from the beginning of the game, it never looked like the fans were really into the game. West Virginia came out, went up a couple of touchdowns. The fans got riled up and then just flatlined. And it showed. It showed in the pace of the game and the play of the game. And I'm not saying the fans are part of it, but there was a certain amount of emotion and cheering that just did not happen. We'd lose. Freeman Brown on the toilet bowl, we lose. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and I feel bad for JT Daniels, because he's a good quarterback. That's obvious. I just think that, I don't know what to think. I really don't. KDU, Kansas fan here. We were a lot of flute players that just went the KU's way. Both teams have serious questions on defense. All in all, a very exciting game. KD, thanks for popping in. It was a very exciting game. And there was some fluke plays, but I swear, you guys, the schemes that you guys ran, especially going into the second quarter, just completely changed the pace of the game for you guys. The offensive alignments and some of the weird movements that, you had odd guards pulling, and like there was some weird shit going on. But I really think it confused West Virginia, and that's what opened up the D-backs. The D-backs had to take a step back because they didn't know where anything was going. And, I think you guys are going to win some games this year. I really do. I feel like if you can play that, if you can clean it up a little bit and play like that week in, week out, I mean, you're going to win some games. There's no doubt about that. But, I mean, this indeed for West Virginia, as I said in my prediction, it was a trap game. It was a trap for the fans. It was a trap for the players, the coaches. It was a complete trap game. It was something that, if we had it to do over again, I still think we lose. I just don't think West Virginia was prepared enough to beat this Kansas team. Kansas looked and played with intensity throughout the game. West Virginia did not. And the thing is, you look at their coach, man, Leopold. He looks like he looked like he was about to freaking have an aneurysm down on the sidelines. And he was intense. Like, it was scary intense. Like, if you can't if your coach can't bring that out in you to some degree, you got a problem. And Neal Brown is about as intense as a freaking mouse on crack. I mean, he just there's nothing intense about him, and I think that might be part of the problem. Is you got to bring that intensity out. Like I don't understand why. Like here's something that like if I was Neal Brown, here's and I think I said this at some point last year, and I'm going to recycle it again. Like if you have intensity problems and you're a West Virginia coach, what's the one player, you West Virginia fans out there, if you're having an intensity problem, which former Mountaineer player do you call to come teach your team about how to be intense? Who's the one guy that you call and say, come up here, join our coaching staff. You're going to be our intensity coach. And you bring him on, and all he's there for is to teach these kids how to be intense. Who's your phone call? There it is. First guess. Yes, sir. I don't know why they haven't done that. You bring Owen Schmidt in and you let him teach these guys how to be intense. Because Owen Schmidt, in my eyes, the two greatest Mountaineers that I've watched in my life that really define what it means to be a Mountaineer. Owen Schmidt for football and Gabe Osaboyan for basketball. They're just two dudes that just do things differently, and they do it hard and intense. And if you have a problem with intensity, get Owen Schmidt in up there, man. Let him teach those guys how to be intense. The way it looks to me, any decent quarterback can pick our secondary apart. We can't even tackle properly. Our offensive line is there. That's about it. Yeah, I agree. The secondary's appalling. I mean, the offensive line, they've done better protecting JT Daniels than I thought they would. I will give them that. Part of that, though, is JT knows when to step up in the pocket where Jared Dagey did not. So part of that is on him, but, they just so hit and miss. So hit and miss. I'm in the heart of Jayhawk Nation. These players are absolutely hungry. They want and will change the football culture around here. Kansas may not have a winning record, but they will be ready to play. Well, I mean, and they showed that tonight. Like for real, man. Like hats off to you guys. I have nothing bad to say. I'm not necessarily mad about this loss. I wasn't mad about the Pittsburgh loss. It's just the reality of what we're working with when it comes to the coaches. And the intensity that we're missing and stuff. It's like how do you fix those issues? And Kansas, I really like your coach. I think he's your guy. I think his ability to bring some intensity to the field really got everybody bought in. God, I remember he would be bleeding before. Yeah, Owen Schmidt, man, he loved headbutting helmets. Sam, what's going on with the defense or not playing very good? This is the second game in a row they've lost, and that is not like them. What's going on right now? They're not acting like they're acting like Braxton County. Emory, I mean, honestly, the defensive line is they played better last week than they did this week. I think the schemes that we're running on defense, though, especially when we're blitzing, are bad. That they're not. They're showing their blitzes too. In my eyes, I think they're showing their blitzes. It's too obvious. And the D backs are just they're mostly transfers and they're undersized. Loss reaction, you mean win? Yeah, I'm a West Virginia fan, so Kansas loss reaction video, yeah. So that's why I termed it that way. It was a good game. I mean, truthfully, like Kansas, Kansas fought that one out. Come up to Morgantown and win, and that's not an easy feat, no matter what. And my hat's off to the Kansas and the Kansas fans that came up to watch it. And Braxton County's 1-2, and has West Virginia going to play like. I mean, guys, here's the reality check for all of us. Like take you a deep breath. We don't beat Kansas. We should beat Townsend. If we don't, we have a problem. But Towson, then we play Virginia Tech. That's a 50-50 game. Virginia Tech looked terrible last week, but they bounced back. They beat Boston College or are beating Boston College. Um, that is what it is. But then we're getting into the meat of the schedule. You guys tell me, are we going to beat these teams with who we got to play? Are we going to beat Texas? Are we going to beat Oklahoma? Are we going to beat Oklahoma State? Are we going to beat Baylor? Are we going to beat Texas Tech? Neal Brown's never beat Texas Tech. Are we going to beat TCU? Are we going to beat Kansas State? I mean, guys, if we continue to play the way we played tonight, we're going to win one game. And that's just not me. Say West Virginia beats two teams that they shouldn't beat. Say they beat Oklahoma and they finally beat Texas Tech. We're a 3-win team. It's going to be this could be the ugliest season I've ever seen in my life. Keyword with that is should. After some of these these games the past 2 weeks, you never know. Neal Brown is just meandering through the mountains with no purpose. He needs to make a decision about his football identity. He does, and that's a big part of it. Is I think Neal Brown wants to maybe grow a set. That's a good way to put it. But he's just not sure how that'll be received. And everybody, when he went for it on 4th and 3 in the first quarter, everybody was cheering, and hopefully maybe he picked up something from that. Yeah, I mean, there you go, Mountain Beast. I agree with you 100%. Well, I don't think we go 6-6. I don't think we make a bowl game this year. I think it's going to be probably a few really high highs and a lot of really low lows. Thing about Texas is they tend to play according to their competition. West Virginia is the same way. They've been synonymous for that for my whole life. They were like that in the Big East. They've been like that in the Big 12. They were like that when they were independent. And that is true for basketball and for football. They always play to their competition. Tim Merritt, truth. If we have a 2-10 season, I guarantee you the big donors. Yeah, I mean, my thing is let's all just start writing letters to Jim Justice and see if he'll just, he's our billionaire governor, man. He can help us out with $20 million to get some things done. No, nail on the head. I wish I could give you a sticker or something. Brandon Carden. There's the comment of the night, guys. That's it. It just shows that having a bad quarterback last year wasn't our only problem. And that's something I harped about a lot last year is where do you point the finger when there's nowhere left to point the finger at? Last year we were pointing the finger at Jared Dagey and Neal Brown and this and that. And this year, where are we pointing the finger at? It's got to go to Neal Brown. Like they've upgraded and gotten better just about everywhere except on the defensive backside. Where do we point the fingers at? Where's the player development? I mean, you look at some of these guys that's been there for a few years. Tony Mathis is a perfect example. Has he really gotten better? Has the offensive line, has our established players that's been there for a few years, have they gotten better? I don't see it. I don't see that they've gotten better. They've just had more opportunities and got to play more. They haven't necessarily got better. I mean, maybe West Virginia's problem is they're not really developing guys. They're just trying to play ball. Maybe that's part of the problem too. 2-10, 3-9. I can totally see it. No one. No, they can keep him. Then they'll start scheduling Appalachian State, and we'll have to deal with that. Coach on the hotter seat after today's loss, Jimbo or Neal Brown. Jimbo's ass is going to be really on the hot seat. I mean, that's down where they take football serious. Neal Brown, Neal Brown, his ass is on the hot seat, but I just don't think West Virginia is going to shell out $20 million to get rid of him. I don't see that happening. I mean, I guess the question goes is, it's like it's so funny that I want to defend Neal Brown. He's dealt with the COVID years, and then the portal opened up, and the NIL started. Like every year he's been there, except for one, there's been something crazy like happen or start, and it's changed everything. And the NIL and portal has completely changed the face of college football. And maybe his learning curve is just a little higher than everybody else's. I don't know. I just I want to defend him to a degree because I do like Neal Brown, but man, as a coach, I just I don't know. I noticed that Bama took out Texas quarterback today during the game, so I don't know that he'll be able to play. It looked like a broken collarbone since he went down on his shoulder. And that was a completely dirty hit in my eyes. Like it just was. Anytime a guy launches like that and gets the quarterback up off the ground and lands on top of him, like that's a dirty shot. Like you just don't do that. I'm not going to say that he was aiming to do that, but I mean, oh, that's right. A&M got smoked. Never mind. I've been watching West Virginia play since 1965. It doesn't matter who played for them or who coaches for them. It's always seems to be the same scenario. You have a few years where that was. I mean, that's true. I mean, I guess the only thing that's more consistent than West Virginia is their inconsistency. It's that's the struggle of the mid-tier team. Is you finally you get a taste of being on the cusp of a come up, and you want it so bad that you just, as a fan, you just want it to happen. But the reality of it is, it's not going to happen. Like, West Virginia competing for national championships and football and stuff like that. It could happen, but I don't see it immediately happening. We're a mid-tier team. We've always been a mid-tier team. And that's just where we are. Oh, West Virginia is on quit watch. They lost to Townsend and West Virginia, go 0-12. Yep. Maybe Saban will get tired of winning in Alabama and come home. I mean, he got an extension. He'll be there till he's like 80. I think Nick Saban's in his element. I think he loves Alabama and what they do, and I don't think he'll ever leave. J-Man, pathetic performance from the defense. Time to start questioning Leslie as well. Yep, absolutely. I mean, it's all coach blame, really. I mean, the defense looked bad, but it shouldn't have been that bad. And what got me was that, I thought they would go in at halftime and make some adjustments to some of the weird schemes that Kansas was running, and they didn't. Just didn't look like they made any adjustments. See, and that's what's scary, is losing more players to the portal because of this. I mean, it very well could happen. It probably will happen. To be honest with you, Sam, the offense and defense needs to improve a lot. I mean, more so the defense. I mean, last week it was so close, and then made that mistake, which cost us the game. Yeah, I mean, offensively, like the offensive line's really not playing that terrible. It's not where it needs to be, but it's not terrible. The running backs are running. JT, he's got a horseshoe up his butt for several of the passes. He had them against Pitt. He had them this week where he's getting hit and they go straight up in the air. Like, the big issue that I see with the offense, and it's something that I've complained about for 2 years now, we do not utilize our tight ends at all. Michael Laughlin, and I've said this, he is criminally underutilized on that team. We should be throwing more over the middle to our tight ends. I don't know why we don't. It's just ridiculous. 2 weeks in a row losing on the pick six. Yep. Well, that's the thing is the pick six this week. I mean, it's Kansas. Like, and I know, like, I can't say that, but I think we all just look past Kansas. I really do. I mean, if you're a West Virginia fan and you didn't look past them to some degree, I even talked about that in my prediction video, is looking past them and not to do it. And it's a trap game and all this crap. And I still was caught myself saying, well, it's Kansas. And I guess these first 2 weeks of the 2022 college football season, if it's taught us anything, it's to quit looking at teams and saying, well, it's Appalachian State. Well, it's Marshall. Well, it's Kansas. Well, it's this team or it's that team, because any team can beat any team. And that's what we're starting to see. And that's exciting. Well, guys, I'm going to pack it up tonight. Been on for almost an hour. I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't hit that subscription button, please do. I appreciate it. Man, I'm going to keep putting the content out there. Well, as long as I get comments, I'll bring them up. Kansas isn't the same old Kansas. They are improving. Still no excuse to lose to them. Exactly. I mean, Kansas did not look like a bad ball team. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, there should be some, like, for hits like that we're talking about, the Alabama guy hit on Texas. There needs to be more that can be done for hits like that, because that was a brutal hit. It was a bad hit. It shouldn't have happened. Neal Brown let Pitt beat West Virginia twice. Oh, thank you guys for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. I love doing the content, especially right after games, man. Sometimes I have to get my thoughts out or I won't be able to sleep. Is Graham Harrell ready to be head coach? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He's a West Coast guy. He has no ties around here. The USC fans, when we hired him, we're talking about how he, stalls out and he can move the ball, but he stalls out a lot. I think West Virginia needs to go, and I've said this once earlier, is if I was going to pick a new head coach, if they're like, all right, Sam, man, you're going to pick our guy. I mean, my first call would be Manny Diaz, who's now at that Penn State, I think, defensive coordinator. That'd be my first call. I liked him at Miami. I thought he had done a good job recruiting. I felt like that he did a good job getting the kids to buy into the program. It's just, Mario Cristobal, when you can bring him in and that's, his home state, his home school where he wants to be, like, I understand that. But I felt like he was a really good coach that got put to the side too soon. That would be my first call. Other than that, I'm not sure, but that would be my first call. Neal Brown doesn't show any emotion. I'd rather see a coach get ejected than just, that's a really good point. Like, he is stoic. He just, like, Neal Brown, like, I don't know how to say it. Neal Brown, like, is very even keel. Like, I've wondered, like, if he's on, like, the spectrum to a degree, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean, you guys know what I mean. Like, just the way he reacts to things and the way he talks and recycles things, and it kind of controls everything. I just wonder, like, if there's something else there that influences that. I mean, that would be good to know if it's true, but the stoic part of it really gets on my nerves. Like, get pissed off, throw something, cuss out a ref, get yourself thrown out of a game. Like, show the fans that you care, and releasing a video a couple days after you lose the pit and telling the fans to come on out, and like that's not what we're talking about, Neal. Like you got to get like truly emotional about. You got to get mad. Um, like Kansas's coach, he looked like his head was going to explode a couple times, like for real. And I mean, sometimes that's what it takes. If you've ever coached football, I've coached a little bit of football, just high school and stuff. Like sometimes you can be stoic, and sometimes you have to try to fire guys up. And Neal Brown just doesn't come across as the type of head coach that would ever fire anybody up, and that's a problem. Again, that's why you bring in Owen Schmidt, man. Bring Owen Schmidt up there, pay him to keep them guys fired up. J-Man, great answer there. Great comment. Neal Brown is perfect in every other sense than on the field results, which is what matters the most, unfortunately. That's the truest statement of the night, man. Like that's why always hurts me to talk bad about him or to want him fired and want him gone, is because he is a good dude. He does a good job recruiting. He says a lot of the right things, even though I feel like he panders a lot and recycles a lot. But he's such a good dude. Like, you hating on him, but at the end of the day, if you can't produce on the field, it just isn't going to work. Well, guys, I'm out for the night. I do appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll move on, move up. Kansas will move on. West Virginia will move on. And, I'm kind of excited to watch Kansas play a little bit more this season. I feel like they're going to sneak up on a lot of people. And probably win quite a few games. And I have a feeling that us West Virginia fans are going to be on my little podcast here. Talking about woulda, coulda, shoulda on close games for the rest of the season, because I don't see that changing in anytime soon. But guys, I'm Sam the Man. This is the 304 podcast. I appreciate all the thumbs up, guys. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button and be sure to subscribe, because it does help get it out there in the algorithm and bring more people in. More people that comes in, the better the show will be, and the more we can continue the conversation. I mean, we've been talking for an hour just, amongst us, 30 people that's watching or whatever. And, it's been a good conversation. It's just, I think we're all at the same place. Like, what direction do we go in from here? But the only thing I know is we better beat Townsend. If we don't, I'm done. All right, guys, everybody have a good night. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Sam the Man. For the 304 guys, I'm out.